Midway through the 1990s, Toku was in an interesting period, particularly in terms of television. The Kamen Rider franchise was taking a break from TV, mainly producing films that had potential but never were followed up on, where Sentai was still going strong, despite the changes in tone of Ohranger and the more comedic tone of Carranger. And the male heroes essentially took Kamen Rider's place until that franchise was cancelled. But we are not here to talk about Toei, we are here to talk about Tsuburaya Productions. It was the late 1990s and nobody that Tsuburaya Pro showed Ultraman Neos liked it. The pilot of the show was a complete and total dud. No networks wanted to pick the show up based on the pilot, and investors were unwilling to fund the project further. Tsuburaya Production already started a significant merchandise and PR push focused on Neos and his upcoming show, so this was incredibly negative for them. With the show being shelved for a long time, this campaign quickly became viewed as a waste of time and money. However, Noboru Tsuburaya didn't need to deal with it for very long because he tragically passed away in June of 1995. The problem has gotten worse. If it wasn't already awful due to Neos never materializing, Kazuo Tsuburaya was forced into Noboru's post essentially overnight, a position that many believe he couldn't fill due to his lack of business experience. The firm was having a meltdown, hoping to get Ultra back on TV at least before the end of 1996, the year planned for the 30th anniversary of the franchise, which didn't help the transition. This was their best opportunity to maximize possible earnings and get the show back on air. They required something novel and innovative that wasn't really what Neos offered. What investors and TV stations didn't know was that tons and tons of Neos had already planned out in advance. Enough ideas and concepts to fill a proper TV series. Ideas and concepts that weren't shut down due to them being excluded from the Neos pilot. Instead of letting those ideas go to waste, the people at Tsuburaya Production decided they could salvage these ideas and put them to use by simply scrapping all of the Ultraman Neos aspects and leaving them vague enough to be used in any future projects. The question was, used in what? Everyone was kind of putting all of their energies in Ultraman Neos, so not many people had a lot of backup plans laying around. They needed something that was more likely to connect with the interest and taste of their new modern audience. They had to step away from the M78 universe and design sensibilities and forge a new universe and aesthetics. Yet, what should be the base of all of it? They weren't really looking for something lore-filled, expensive, and fully formed. They didn't have the time or the resources to do that. They needed something to explain why Ultras exist in this universe, and it couldn't be something like they ever done before. This is where they turned to Konaka Chiaki to provide them with something. He suggested basing this new show loosely around the Cthulhu mythos, specifically the story layer of the Star Spawn, where giant flaming humanoids descend from the sky and destroy evil beasts bent on doing harm to humankind. Tsuburaya Production asked from him to write the basis of the series, nothing too lore heavy or set in stone, and how to bookend the show. This left the show, excluding the beginning and ending, free from literally anything. The writer's room of Tiga doesn't really qualify as the traditional writer's room. The writers of the show didn't even meet in one big standard meeting until the scripts for the first 10 episodes of the show were drafted and sent to be reviewed. Past that point, they would only meet each other once or twice a month, and if they needed to check in with each other, they would just call. There wasn't any real set vision for the show outside of the makeup of the finale. The most important thing for the people running the show was to be explorative and creative and go to many unique places as they could while keeping the characters in a line, and moving forward, the team could write literally anything that they wanted and no one would have stopped them. Speaking of people not knowing when to stop, this brings us to the new president of Tsuburaya Productions, Kazuo Tsuburaya. Kazuo was a person defined by his desire to push Ultraman to the very top. allowing the creatives to do whatever they felt they needed to do to make the show successful. Kazuo trusted them, feeling that they knew much more about making a successful TV show than him. The problem was, these ideas to make the show successful required a lot of money, and that was something that Kazuo didn't have at the time. While some investors and supporters of the company stayed post Noboru's death, many of them did leave, not putting their trust in Kazuo. Kazuo needed a powerful person or group backing him if he was going to get anywhere financially and acclaim-wise. Luckily for him, a certain toy company was as ambitious as Tsuburaya Production. Bandai had a dream of increasing their slim 200 billion yen a year profit to 500 yen a year by the end of 1999. To do this, Bandai required a brand that was super popular, super recognizable, easily marketable, and could be slapped on literally everything from rice cookers to VCRs. At that time though, Bandai felt they had literally no series they could utilize in a manner such as that. They were in a hard place and they had to find something quick. This is where Kazuo came to Bandai to try to gain their sponsorship and have them produce toys for the upcoming show. But at this point, it was unclear if or when the show is actually going to be produced. In that moment, an idea hit Bandai like a rock. Ultra was the perfect series for doing what they wanted. In fact, Ultra was basically doing that throughout the 70s. They could make a huge wave of toys in addition to the quality of life goods, doubling their potential profits and tap into an entirely new market of consumers. With Bandai's full support, the wheels of this upcoming project finally began to turn. More investors flocked in, drawn by the show's ambitious and seemingly profitable plans. Because Tsuburaya Production had such promising sponsored TV stations were now more interested in working with them. Things were looking up. It was during this time Bandai came down to Hiroshi Maruyama and asked them what he thought about their concept for the Ultra for the show. Their idea was basically an Ultra that could swap between forms, a base form, a speed form, and a power form. The base form could have a unique look, but the speed form and the strength form had to be blue and red respectively because they were profitable colors. Maruyama liked the idea, but he told them that they couldn't use blue because it would mess with the blue screen effects. So he suggested of using purple instead. Bandai accepted it and left him to do the work. This is where Maruyama came up with the name Tiga for the Ultra. He said one day he remembered the name of the Malaysian word for free was Tiga. Tiga had 3 forms, so naming him Free made sense to Maruyama. He brought the idea to the head producer, and he liked the name, thus Ultraman Tiga was born. Let's talk about the show for a bit. In Tiga's universe, later named the Neo Frontier universe, kaiju already exist. So do the organization TPC, that stands for Terrestrial Peaceful Consortium. Under its umbrella, the Special Defense Unit GUTS, that would mainly deal with kaiju attacks and where all of our main characters serve, like our main protagonist of the show and the host of Ultraman Tiga, Daigo Madoka. Funny, I'm gonna let you try that one more time. Like our main protagonist of the show and the host of Ultraman Tiga, Daigo Madoka. Look here, listen me from the future, making inside jokes that more than half of the audience wouldn't get is not funny. So, I'm gonna let you try that one more time. Like our main protagonist of the show and the host of Ultraman Tiga, Daigo Madoka. Thank you. Now we kind of need to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is Daigo's actor. Tsuburaya Production knew the show is going to get big, and a show as big as Tiga needed someone major to star in it. They wanted someone whose name reached beyond the normal target audience. They wanted someone who's capable of singing and dancing. They wanted Hiroshi Nagano. They wanted a major idol from the get-go to play the protagonist, and Hiroshi Nagano was on top of the list. The original plans for Daigo revolved around him having a much light-hearted and cheery personality, and even occasionally would sing and dance in the show. This changed, however, while negotiating the contract with a little Japanese agency called Johnny & Associates that strictly stated that Hiroshi Nagano wasn't allowed to sing and dance in the show whatsoever, and they were the main reason why Tiga wasn't on Tsuburaya imagination until 2021, alongside Ultraman Dyna and the Final Odyssey film, because of the usage of Hiroshi Nagano and the actor who plays Jun that at the time of filming was a part of Johnny Jr.'s, and any trace of Take Me Higher were scrapped away from the home release, bar to 2 episodes, because V6 is a Johnny's band. So yeah, I gave you a TLDR version of the story of Hiroshi Nagano's disappearance from Tiga, but there is an excellent video made by Vintage Henshin that I will link down below. So after all the changes, what is Daigo's character? He's the everyman of the group. He's the jack of all trades but the master of none. He's not the best pilot in the group. He's not the best soldier. He's not even the smartest guy in the group. He's very much a blank slate protagonist. Not a terrible character, but very stationary. Daigo as a character doesn't fully evolve. Daigo's character is he is a hero. That's the thing that got him into Guts. Daigo saved the captain of the TPC from getting captured from aliens. He wasn't even a soldier before. He was a part of the moving crew of the TPC. But it doesn't mean that Daigo is a bad character. One of my favorite episodes was focused on Daigo after his spark lens was stolen by someone with pretty much the exact DNA as him. And the person that stole it claimed that Daigo never worked for his powers. And from the end of the episode before to the next episode, Daigo questioned himself if without the light, is he just a normal human being that can't do anything in this situation? Or is he different? And seeing him climbing to get the spark lens was great, proving that even the hero types would absolutely question, are they actually useful? Around the midway of the show, Daigo really starts hitting it off with another member of the team being Rena. I don't really felt it at first, specifically because I saw Guts as way more family, specifically when Rena said it, but slowly and slowly thinking about it, I did really enjoy them being together. If I already mentioned Rena, let's talk about her. Fun little fact, the casting department didn't know at first that she was the daughter of Shin Hayata's actor, but Rena as a character I really enjoyed. I liked the idea that she was the best pilot in Guts, and most of the time if there is a big new aircraft to shield for the kids, she would be the most likely to fly it. And as a character, she gets enough backstory about her that makes her feel like she's an actual person. Like we discovered that she changed her last name because her mom and dad divorced, and when Rena celebrated her 9th birthday, her dad didn't come after he promised her to, and her dad pretty much dissociated from his family to focus on his job, and that is to be a spaceship pilot. And on this day, his spaceship crash landed on Earth, and the alien that shot it down took her dad as a prisoner, and then took her as well, in some sort of revenge of what Rena's dad did to his family. But in the end, we discovered that the alien lied about it, and he just ran away from his exploding ship, with his family still in there. Guts saved the two, and Rena and her dad helped Tiga destroy the alien. Rena doesn't fully forgive what her dad has done, but she still has a special place for him in her heart. And how much Rena's dad says that he has no family, it clearly shows he still cares about Rena. From carrying her gift that he needed to give her on her 9th birthday. And when the alien scanned her dad's most important memories, she showed up. Their time together showed up. There is Horii, the science expert of the team. From time to time, he would play comedy relief with Shinjoh, and he is the only character that in the show got married. He met his soon-to-be wife, where an alien creates a fog. If someone inhales it, they become a zombie. He finds her being the only survivor in that area. Her name is Michiru. She is a daughter of a famous scientist and a man that Horii really looks up to. At first, it doesn't look like both her and Horii really have any chemistry together, but in the end of the episode, she kisses him on the cheek, and they slowly become an item. Even through some small turbulence down the road, they still get married. The other half of the comedy relief duo is Shinjoh, the team's semi-comedy relief, but also the one that is most likely to be on the field the majority of times. And when he and Daigo are flying the God's wing, they are regularly shot down, being the worst combination of people you can put in the God's wing. But he's actually the only member of the squad that has an actual blood relative that works in the TPC, and that is his young sister Mayumi, a TPC nurse. When he was training to be a soldier in the TPC, his two best friends became the best spaceship pilot. But when they returned to Earth, we discovered that an alien species that can make any living organism turn to one of them turned both of them. One of his friends turned fully, while the other is slowly turning. Shinjoh needed to shoot his friend down, and throughout the episode, Shinjoh fully understands that this is what his friend would have wanted him to do. And Shinjoh's interaction with his slowly turned friend trying to stop people from conforming to the alien species was great and very emotional at times. And there is that moment that you believe that this is it for Shinjoh's friend, and you can actually feel it. This episode and many other episodes that were, surrounding Shinjoh were great. There is Jun, the youngest member of GOTS, but he is the team's computer whiz. As the youngest member, he has a lot to learn, specifically understanding how to talk to people, because he can be quite harsh with his quote-unquote truths. When he was genuinely mean to both Rena and Mayumi, telling both of them they're weak. Specifically Mayumi, after she asked him if he was afraid to die, and Jun danced around the answer. In that specific episode, you can clearly see the lack of time that Jun has on the field, when he freezes up after seeing the destruction that the kaiju made. After fully understanding what Mayumi said to him, he understands that life is supposed to be valued, and dying is not just another side effect of their job. And in the end of the episode, he does help Tiga destroy the kaiju. This episode was an amazing way to show Jun's character, and subsequent episode, it shows the full change of his character, like taking a girl from a different time period on some sort of a date and making her happy, and making an evil computer virus see the good in humans. There is the vice captain of GOTS, Seiichi, always with a cool demeanor like an old detective. His character has a little quirk that his body can't actually handle alcohol. So when he goes to a bar and visit one of his old friends, he would always order milk. Like the one time that one of his friends, that was once a detective, asked from him to check up on his old partner, that later we discovered was turned into a vampire by a kaiju. And when they find her with the group of other vampires, there is this great emotional moment between the two before she meets her demise, and the old detective friend actually helps Tiga to defeat the monster. As a character, Seiichi is a great straight man that can also do great comedy relief from time to time, and he and the captain of GOTS have great chemistry together. And now to the captain of the team, Iruma, the only female leader / captain of a defense team. Cool, calm, collected. Iruma has probably both of my favorite episodes that are centered around her and the alien species Kireroid that believes they are the true protectors of Earth. In the first part, we discover that Iruma is actually a mom, and in the second part, we discover that her son is also a computer whiz, but she and him doesn't really have a regular mother and son relationship. After her husband died on a mission, she thought she can't be his mom anymore, so she gave her son to her husband's mom, but she still shows up and talks to him from time to time, while the Kireroid deceived the human believing that they are actually angels, while Tiga is the devil, and Tiga would bring the destruction to Earth, and the human needs to pray to them for the ultimate angel to come out and save them. But with the help of Iruma and her son, they hypnotize human from their state, and they help Tiga defeat the Kereroid. There was always a mystery in the show about her connection to the woman in the time capsule that I really liked. She's genuinely one of my favorite characters and one of my favorite team leaders for any defense team in Ultra. After we talked about the characters, let's talk about the show itself. Ultraman Tiga as a show is very episodic. That means that most of the stories do connect, but very loosely. Most of the time, an episode would be revolving around a member of GUTS or TPC, a civilian, or even the world itself. There aren't many plot threads that truly tie each and every episode of the series together. The first episode introduces us to GUTS and their members, and a character that's not as important in the long run, and that is Yuzare, a woman that sent a message through a time capsule telling the GUTS team members that a great calamity is about to happen with the resurrection of two monsters, Golza and Melba, and the only way for Earth to continue living, they need to find the Pyramid of Tiga and awaken the Giant of Light. Her message gets messed up for everybody else except for Daigo, where she tells him that he is human and the light for Tiga, and that's pretty much the story. Legacy of Ultraman is not a recap show. It's not like Linkara's History of Power Rangers or Makousatsu's History of Kamen Rider Sentai and other Tokusatsu show, but it's way more talking about the show overall, highlighting episodes and giving you some sort of an idea about the show itself, because Ultraman is widely available, but I want to continue to talk about my favorite episodes, because I did talk about most of them in my character introduction, but there are more. Not every episode is going to be about a kaiju attacking the city, like episode 16, where 3 thieves steal an ancient artifact from a shrine that was supposed to guard the town from a demon. The artifact contains the soul of the warrior that sealed the demon. After the warrior assumed control of one of the thieves, hilarity ensues, and there is this great conversation between Daigo and the warrior, where the warrior kind of explaining to Daigo how to vanquish the demon. Or episode 27. At first, it starts comedically with an ancient demon that kidnaps people and just returns them couple of minutes later, and when GUTS gets the tip on him, they start chasing him around, both in the evening and in the morning. But when they discover the reason for the demon's tomfoolery, they really try to help him. In episode 38, there are multiple reports about a kaiju, but when GUTS arrive, there is no kaiju in sight. The episode itself dives into the more interesting part about a world with a kaiju that is attacking the city, and there is a big warrior of light coming in to rescue humankind. And it's not about GUTS. In fact, it's about the TPC and the people that work there, and how much they would actually simulate a monster attack to collect data on human behavior. There are episodes that are memorable because they are beautifully shot and use interesting lighting and effects to them, like episode 37, when the GUTS team, in exception of Daigo, go out to a picnic during the Sakura season. Iruma encountered 2 aliens that kidnap her because they were looking for the best warriors on Earth. There are episodes that I really liked because the way they use specific kaijus, like episode 40, that centers around a man that sadly got dumped by his girlfriend and immediately enters a depressive state, and each and every time he goes to sleep, he managed to create a kaiju. The biggest thing, they can't attack the kaiju because the kaiju is a dream kaiju, but the kaiju can still attack the city. It's a weird episode, it's very trippy, but it's very good. The final episode I want to talk about is episode 49, Star of Ultra, an episode that pays homage to the god of Tokusatsu, Eiji Tsuburaya, where an alien wants to buy a kaiju, and we learn from this episode that Ultraman not only exists in the real world with Tiga, but also the TV show, because the alien goes to the Tsuburaya production building and asks to talk to Eiji Tsuburaya. But Hajime Tsuburaya, being played by his actual son Hiroshi Tsuburaya, tells him to go back to 1966 if he wants to talk to Eiji when he was alive and healthy. So the alien just goes back in time. Daigo watches all of it and does the same thing. He enters the portal that the alien created. They both land in 1966. Tsuburaya Production is still filming Ultra Q, and we see Shinjoh Tetsuo, the man that wrote the original Ultraman show, struggling to find an idea for Tsuburaya's newest show, that in the end becomes Ultraman. The episode itself is a love letter to Eiji Tsuburaya. From the scene of Eiji directing the actors to act more scared when they see the kaiju, you can clearly see the actor that plays Eiji shows probably the same passion that Eiji talked about the kaiju in his shows. There is this great scene between Eiji Tsuburaya and Tetsuo. Eiji Tsuburaya tried to lift him up out of the slump of being stuck in this writer block by giving him the Star of Ultra, a thing that was given to him by the original Ultraman. Well, kind of. It's not the original Ultraman from the 66 show, but just an alternate universe version of him. In the end of the episode, the alien found his original monster that was actually sunk down the ocean by Ultraman, and the alien revives it and Daigo transforms into Tiga. He and the original Ultraman destroy the monster, and there is this nice passing of the torch moment between Tiga and man, almost like if there was something along the line of, let's say, Kuga and Ichigo. This episode, in my opinion, is a must watch. From the cinematography to the music, specifically the scene where Man is talking to Eiji and you can actually hear the original Ultraman theme playing in the background. And the amount of references to the original Showa era shows. And there is a funny little bit specifically revolving around Daigo. And there is someone that looks like him. Like, straight up, it's just Daigo with a different outfit. That worked on an Ultra show, and the character's name is Nagano. We never fully got that character's full name, but it probably is Hiroshi Nagano. And that's great. I genuinely did enjoy it. There are multiple different things I want you to experience on your own, specifically with this episode. It's a great one. Again, I'm saying it's a must watch for a reason. Let's talk about the show's visual and sound department wise. First of all of the OSTs are great. The trumpet players are getting paid overtime for this show, including the synth guy. And the ending theme, Brave Love and Tiga, is amazing. It brings this feeling of hope and light, and it's so damn catchy. It's so damn good. Ultraman The Rocks did cover it, and even their cover is also carried the same type of feeling as the original. Now let's talk about the semi-controversial part, and that is Take Me Higher is not on any home release. It's mainly on Mill Creek and Shout Factory. You can find it in 2 episodes. I forgot what they are, but most of the other episode is Voyager's Awaken Ultraman Tiga, and both of the songs are really great. They're high energy and they fit the show both ways, both Awaken Ultraman Tiga and Take Me Higher. And everything visually about the show is great, specifically the kaiju suit, like Golza, Merbala, Keloid, Gazorta, Alien Raibik, Guban, and Cairo Ranos. Tiga's free forms are great. You can see the influence still in the original Ultraman design, but the type changes don't really show the difference in power set visually. And yeah, most of the effects did aged, but it has a charm to it. I really enjoyed it. When the show started airing, it was supposed to attract the youth of the time, but the show mainly attracted the 21 to 28-year-old that were already familiar with the older shows. Not to say there weren't any new viewers, it's just the shows attracted more familiar adult audience over new kid audience. For the first time ever, the primary audience for an Ultra show was single young adults living alone. Watching Tiga became a popular thing among the young adult population of Japan. Even when the initial high-paced rating started to decline, these young adults kept watching and providing stable base for the show. Kazuo Tsuburaya declared the show in some ways a failure as a result of this decline in viewership. Despite Kazuo's declaration of failure, Ultraman Tiga was an overwhelming success in all regards but ratings. Extremely critically praised, gained multiple awards, pumped new life into the tokusatsu medium, and by the end of the show's run, Ultra earned 14.7 billion yen. This was extremely close to Bandai's original goal, meaning Bandai was very satisfied and would continue to support future Ultra shows. Even TBS was thrilled to have Tiga on the air and overjoyed because of all the young adult viewers that stayed tuned before and after Tiga. The success of Tiga didn't end just in Japan. It went further, bringing Ultraman back to America and international shores since Ultraman Great. Tiga had a surprisingly large reach, being able to hit places like America, with the unfortunate bad 4Kids dub that was so bad I don't believe they even dubbed the entire show, and I don't believe they even aired all the episodes they did dub, and I think most of them are now on the DVD release that cost an arm and a leg to buy. The show just kept growing and spreading, from reintroducing or just introducing people to these giants of light they may have seen somewhere in the past. The show was successful enough that in 2002 they made a sequel movie titled Ultraman Tiga Final Odyssey that explored the true origin of Tiga being an ancient giant of darkness and Tiga's past coming back in vision and real life to Fred and Daigo that is now happily engaged with Rena, and the conclusion of the mystery of Iruma's connection to Yuzare. But also it was a great opportunity to see Tiga's cast one final time together, because that was the final time. Yes, a lot of the original cast did show up in Dyna, but most of the time as separate cameos or just being paired up. And also this movie was a great connecting point between Ultraman Tiga and Ultraman Dyna, pretty much being in the middle. And you can see the other members of Super Gods spread around the movie. And to mark Tiga's 25th anniversary as well as the TDG trilogies, in 2021, Bandai issued a slew of new Tiga merchandise, while Tsuburaya produced an anniversary series, Ultraman Trigger New Generation Tiga, which received mixed reviews. The weight of Tiga in the history of Ultraman is obvious as day. It's not just a revival. Tiga was a magnificent, glorious revival intent to keep the show going for years to come. Tiga was the urgently needed fresh dawn for the series, and without it, the current form of Ultraman is unimaginable. Tiga brought people together, gave them a taste of what's it like to support Ultraman, a guiding light that would be there for them constantly, a hero we can all become if we held hands and perceived to strive for a new day. Tiga emerges from the pitch black like the sun, demonstrated that the series' future is still open, a future bursting with promise and innovation and hope. Thank you Tsuburaya Production for this amazing show.